Hello, welcome to We Were Gamers episode 6. We're back, JJ.
We continue to be back.
I think I should just say that until episode 10 and then I'll stop saying it.
We're still back. It's still episode 6.
Oh, good job. You can count.
Aw, it's the nicest thing someone's ever said about me.
Oh, man. Well, I'm back. I'm back because I'm back in my echo chamber of an office. So apologies to everyone for the distinct change in audio. Boston audio was pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, it actually came out really good, And you were high energy. That's what's important,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for coming back, everybody. And we're going to talk. We have a lot of stuff to talk about today, JJ, especially because you had a busy weekend. But should we lead off? Do you want to talk about the Warcraft movie first?
Sure. As I told you, and people that follow me on Twitter might know, I spent money to go see the Warcraft movie. And I phrase it like that because I don't know if other people should do that.
Okay, so you're saying people shouldn't see it at all, or people shouldn't pay to see it?
Okay, well, I think that there's some people who could see it and would enjoy it, but the vast majority of people probably would have a terrible time. The movie is very reverential to the actual World of Warcraft lore, right? All the lore from Warcraft and Warcraft 2 and Warcraft 3 and those games that Blizzard made, and all the really dumb storytelling and writing that was in those games seems to have been preserved relatively faithfully, and all the stuff that means.
So they basically took all the lore and everything from the good old days of Warcraft where we had a good time playing it, but it really didn't have much of a story. It was kind of cobbled together and ended up being this massive thing that they wield still.
So the movie actually takes place well before the games. This movie takes place in like Warcraft 1 times.
Mm-hmm.
So like way before the MMO game that was the big thing for them for so long and still is. It takes, all the characters in the movie are all dead and have been for a really long time, except maybe Thrall is born during the course of the movie. So it's like no one in the movie is any character you would know unless you knew a lot about the history of that world, right? Or like maybe you've seen them or heard of their name, but never really like know that character.
Did they do that to try and bring in non-game players? Like hey, this is the World of Warcraft, but it's info for everyone?
If that was the plan, I don't think they did a very good job. They spend so if you really like the movie looks really good. It's really impressive the stuff they can do with the CG. It makes the people look like they are walking in those worlds with those orcs and like the huge sets of armor and the griffins and all the battle scenes and stuff. It all looks amazing. It's like really good to look at. But then the story is not so good.
Okay, so is this time for if you haven't seen it warning?
Yeah, I guess we have to do some... Or if you haven't seen it, or if you know you're not going to see it,
skip ahead like 10 minutes.
Yeah, if you care, skip for 10 minutes or something.
Gosh, I hope not 10 minutes. Considering your review.
We'll keep it shorter than that. But yeah, be safe, skip 10 minutes, and then backtrack, I guess.
Okay. Go.
Okay, so the guys in this movie, right, they spend so much time building up these characters like Gul'dan, who's a very important character in World of Warcraft. He's this evil orc warlock who does all these horrible things using this magic that is called the Fel magic. It's all green and glowy and makes all, these people, it kills people and takes their life and puts it in other people to make them stronger or something. And they spend all this time building this up, but everything is kind of just like, woo! They're like, here's Gul'dan. Nope, don't have any time to talk about him. Here's Durotan. Nope, don't have any time to talk about him. Here's his wife. Nope, no time for them. Okay, let's go talk about the humans. Oh, they're over here. Nope, no time for them. Let's go back over to this different human. His wife's dead. Okay, next. And it's like, you get 2 seconds of character building for every single person, right?
So they really should have cut it way down.
There's a good movie in this movie somewhere.
If they had shot more stuff with some of the characters and left out a bunch of others.
Yeah. So they would have had to do the thing that I'm sure Blizzard didn't want them to do, which is like rewrite the history and like, take out some people, combine some people, make the movie 30 minutes shorter, stuff like that.
Maybe it should have been a TV show.
Yeah, I don't know. The production,
like a Amazon or a Netflix.
The production values and stuff are so high that I wonder if that's feasible. But yeah, I mean, something needed to be different. I don't know what it is. But certainly this was not it. Just the way, like, some of the payoffs are just so bad, right? Like, we're in the spoiler section, so the Medivh is killed near the end of the movie.
Okay, that happens in World of Warcraft, right?
Right, yeah. Well, he's dead in the lore, right? Like, he dies.
Yeah.
And the turn, right, when you find out Medivh has been evil all along, is just, like, so unearned. It's just like, surprise, he's evil! And you're like, what? It's like, oh, yeah, it turns out he was him all along. You're like, huh? Like,
how was that actor? I can't remember his name. Ben something?
Which one? The one who plays Medivh?
Yeah.
He was all right. It's just tough. Like, you don't get any time seeing him. Like, everyone tells you, oh, this guy's always been good, and then he just acts all distant and weird all the time. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, just kidding, he was always bad. Was he? I don't know. People seem to like him before, but now they don't. They don't get enough time building any of the characters.
I don't like to stab in somebody who's creative and does a hard job trying to create something people like all the time. But this seems to be an overarching issue with a lot of lore stuff at Blizzard, and Chris Metzen is in charge of a lot of it. Was he involved in the movie as well?
I don't know. I didn't really check the credits for his name, but I mean, Blizzard Entertainment has a huge logo and stuff in the beginning of the movie, and I would think a lot of these characters are his. He must have been involved at some level. Yeah, I mean, it harkens back to like the StarCraft 2 thing for me, where it's like the first game was pretty good, nothing to complain about there. You kind of knew where things were going anyway, and it was definitely corny and hokey, but who cares? And then they got to the second one, and it was like a blur through the first one again, and also they erased everything from the first one, and then the third one, it made absolutely no sense at all, and you're just kind of like left holding the shattered pieces of what you thought you understood as a story. Yeah. Did you get to the end of that game?
I did.
Okay. Man, that was the thing.
Yeah, it just really made no sense.
Yeah. Back to this movie, I just don't know what to say. Like, the art is really impressive, and the special effects are really great. And if you can bother to turn your brain off and are just happy to be taken along for a ride for 2 hours and some minutes, fine, I guess.
So what if you're a huge World of Warcraft fan?
So I think if you are a huge fan and you know this lore already, you sort of already know what happens, you actually might really like it, or at least have a really good time watching it.
Okay. So they made a movie for their fans.
But if you have no idea what's going on and think it looks pretty, you're going to have a bad time. Yeah. I like bad movies. This was a bad movie.
Is it a bad movie that you like, though?
I got bored. That's not a good sign.
That's really not a good chance of rewatching for bad movie's sake at that point, then.
Yeah.
Man, that hurts to say you got bored watching something that we really enjoyed. But
yeah,
if you think, try go playing World of Warcraft again, and I got bored real quick, too.
Yeah, the world it's very beautiful. The art style is really interesting to look at. But the characters and stuff, I think there are good characters in that world, but you don't get the payoffs and the things that happen don't feel earned. The twists just happen, and the characters are just like, oh man, betrayal, oh man.
Is it like reading a history book, kind of?
I guess. I don't know. Yeah, like history told by like a really bad writer who just like I'm trying to make it feel personal, but I'm doing a bad job of it.
Man, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
I can't say that I had high hopes, but I had hopes that it would at least be the opening that they needed to start making franchised movies about video games that weren't sucky.
Well, at least in that regard, I believe I saw an article that said it is made the biggest opening weekend ever for any movie in China.
shattered the box office.
Yeah, so it sounds like it'll make at least some amount of money. Whether that comes all from overseas or not, who can say?
You know, it's kind of funny. You read the news. I read the news. We don't normally talk about news on this show at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we would be remiss in not talking about a lot of news this week. And that's why I was hinting that we had a ton of stuff to talk about. Because E3 is going on literally right now.
Yeah, it's like the press conferences were all today, mostly.
I think Sony is happening currently.
Sony's ended a little bit ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
shows how much I know. No research, JJ.
Yeah, well, we don't do research on this show.
Any big stuff that you saw that you wanted to let people know about? I know we don't really we don't cover news because we're not a news show, but
yeah,
sometimes there's stuff that you're excited about from the news. Anything you heard about?
I mostly just saw trailers for stuff. I didn't really get to actually watch much of anything. I think there's a game I had heard about last year called Tyranny, I think is the name, or something like that. It's from Obsidian, which is a developer of mostly RPGs, and those are games that I like. And this one is supposed to take place in a world where evil already won. Like the evil force conquered the land, basically, and you're a guy in the evil overlord's system, and so you have to, live your life according to his evil code or whatever, and see how things go for you. And they make choices and do whatever.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it sort of has that overhead kind of Baldur's Gate-ish kind of look to it. Don't really know much about it other than that. It's an interesting idea for a game anyway, and Obsidian tells good stories, so I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, that sounds like a real fun twist on the RPG genre, for sure.
Yeah, I know we don't play a lot of console games, you and I, anymore, and E3 seems to be really focused around those these days.
The only news I really saw for PC was that Skyrim was getting re-released.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because you wonder, right, why are they doing that when you could, at least on the PC side, just download a bunch of mods and make it look as good as some of those screenshots they sent out.
I mean, you have to wonder, right, what could they possibly add in or offer people that it would drag them back into a purchase, considering you could mod the game to look however you want.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, this is they don't care about the PC sales that much since they already did it, and this gives them a reason to sell it again on PS4 and Xbox One or whatever, and that's enough of a reason. Hard to say. I'm shrugging my shoulders over here. You can't see it, but I'm doing it.
Yeah. Nintendo hasn't gone yet.
No, yeah, Nintendo is tomorrow, but I believe they have said that they are only going to show Zelda. Which
actually has me a little bit... I hesitate to use the word excited, but I will be checking the news afterwards.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it'll be cool. I'm interested in what a Zelda game is.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Zelda is good, generally.
It needs some new life for sure, and this one kind of seems like it's possible, although the sad news will be that we'll have to buy a new system to play it.
Well, it sounds like they're going to do the thing like they did with Twilight Princess, where it's going to come out on both. That seems to be they're showing the Wii U version at E3.
Okay.
Because the new system is not going to be there, according to what they said.
There you have it. Well, I think we can wrap out the news section with one other funny thing that I found out and wanted to mention last week, but then we ran out of time. So we don't get political on this show, but we just voted here in California, and one of the ballot measures, if you remember, JJ, was about senatorial suspensions or Congress suspensions in California.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So irrespective of how you feel about the amendment or proposal or whatever you want to call it that they had put forward, the reason they did it was because 3, I think it was senators this year, were suspended, and all 3 of them were indicted on criminal charges over different things.
To be clear, these are California state senators.
California state senators, yes. Do you remember back when we were gamers, or younger gamers, mm-hmm. When Grand Theft Auto first came out and everyone literally flew into a maniacal tirade about how violent games were going to ruin America?
Was this, what's her name? The wife of Al Gore. What's her name?
So she was the beginning of most of that. And then a lot of people took up her torch along the way.
violent video games are going to ruin America and all the children are going to be the worst.
Mm-hmm. Which led to the ESRB ratings and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember some of that.
In California, one of the leading dudes behind the charge against violent video games, his name was Leland Yee. Leland Yee was proposing that each state should get the right to, basically suppress games and not allow certain games into the state or whatever, based on some sort of council.
What?
Yeah, okay.
That's horrible. Okay. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he took the mantle on and was continuing this fight. Well, I looked up a lot of the reasons why this proposal had hit the ballot, because I like to do research before I vote, even though I don't do it for my podcast.
Gotta have standards.
Yeah, you gotta have standards. Leland Yee is one of the 3 senators being suspended, or who was suspended, expelled, and indicted in California for, are you ready? Taking bribes and gun running.
Oh, that's hilarious. So he's indicted. Have they actually brought a suit against him?
He's going to prison for 5 years, yes.
Not just indicted. That's like beyond indictments.
Okay, so indicted and convicted for 5 years for bribes and gun running, while also opposing violence.
Man. So he's like, oh yeah, I hate violence and all new kids shouldn't play violent video games, but by the way, I'm over here being a guy who's running guns and doing all kinds of stuff, and yeah, suck it. That's great.
Way to go, buddy. He wasn't indicted for and wasn't convicted for racketeering and murder for hire because he pled guilty to the other charges.
Man. It's what, murder for hire? Like he was looking for a hitman or something? Oh my god.
Yeah, apparently he's part of a mob organization. But hopefully his kids didn't play Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, that would be too much. It's one thing to see them, on the day of your daughter's birthday. Wedding, right?
Wedding.
Daughter's wedding? Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. It's one thing to be part of the mob, but God forbid anyone plays Grand Theft Auto. Those guys have stereotypes.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Man, what a joke. Good riddance to that guy.
All right, well, I guess we can round out the news section and lead into a game section with a news story about Overwatch. I don't read a lot of news, but I heard this in Korea, PC bongs, aka PC cafes, which is where most not North Korean, South Korean.
Yeah, North Koreans, I don't think, do much gaming at all.
I don't think they have computers.
Yeah, one wonders.
South Korean kids basically spend all their time in PC cafes playing video games, and League of Legends basically was like 80% of games played there up until this past 2 months, where the League of Legends has dropped from like 60 or 70% down to 20%.
20.
And Overwatch is now 50%.
Holy smokes. That's a lot.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Overwatch has saved us all from League of Legends, dude.
Well, I don't know about that. League of Legends sells a lot of people that play League of Legends.
Yeah, but we don't need to hear about it anymore.
I mean, I don't know. But we'll probably still hear about it.
Oh.
But it's cool. I think we like the game. I'm happy that other people like it. That's good. What it really means is that whenever the esports Overwatch scene happens, it's going to be all won by all Koreans. That's what it means.
Oh boy, I didn't put that much thought into it, but you're probably right.
Yeah.
And they're all going to be playing Diva.
Racist.
What? She's South Korean. She's not North Korean.
Yeah.
I don't know why I keep saying North Korean.
She might just be Korean because there might not be a North and South Korea in the world of Overwatch. We don't know.
Oh, we should ask.
It's a good point.
I'm going to write that down for our inevitable Overwatch interview with somebody.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be fun. Is she from North or South Korea, or just...
Or is there one Korea?
I bet they have an answer to that question.
I guarantee
internally.
you there's an answer to that question. And these are the types of hard-hitting questions we would ask if we were ever granted interviews.
That's right. Yeah. Important lore-based questions like that.
I really would love to see like a hypothetical list of questions we could possibly come up with, because I guarantee you none of them are anything that anyone in the hardcore gaming community wants to hear.
Does McCree know how to read a clock, or did someone just tell him it was high noon?
Oh my
god!
god!
He just assumed that's how time works.
JJ, I saw the funniest tweet today. Okay, so the guy that voices McCree plays Overwatch.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the voice actor plays.
Yeah, the voice
That's
actor
cool.
plays Overwatch and apparently trolls teams on voice chat by just saying, like, in the middle of time, like, let's say the team's not in a fight or anything like that, and he's just walking
on
around.
His mic and says it.
He goes, "It's high noon." And his whole team
that's
flips
amazing.
out like, "Why are you doing that right now?"
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Apparently, yeah, it's a true story. He confirmed it. For people that don't know, in Overwatch, there's a system where you slowly build up like an ultimate attack over time, based on damage done, damage received, etc. And each hero usually says something when they do it, and McCree says it's high noon.
But Andrew, come on, say it right.
Okay, he says it's high noon.
There you go.
Yeah.
He's like a cowboy dude.
He's literally a cowboy dude with a mechanical arm.
So yeah, he says it's high noon, and then he shoots a bunch of people or something. I don't know. I'm horrible with McCree. I never live long enough to use it, so I don't know.
I mean, the only way to really do McCree right is to flashbang and then unload all 6 bullets.
Yeah, definitely. It's the only time I've ever killed anyone with him.
Any Overwatch stories this week?
I don't have any fun ones like last week. I haven't played a ton of Overwatch for whatever reason, just life conspiring against me.
Well, I've been playing a little bit of Diablo. As I texted you the other night, I got back from Boston. Boston was beautiful, by the way. We drove back through it on our way out of town to the airport. We had like a couple hours to kill. Mm-hmm. Drove through like Southie. We saw Harvard across the river. Went
Harvard.
The Yad. You threw me off. Now I don't even know. So we were driving around town. It was a fantastic little town. There, it looks so European. Like you'd think you might be walking through like Prague or some other cobblestone town.
Just because of the architecture?
Yeah, that and the way that like the streets are kind of laid out. Like you're driving down a 2-lane street or 4-lane street, and off to the side there's the town. Like everything's a townhome, kind of like Europe, and they have the little kind of like courtyards and things like that, and the tiny little front yard space basically for the people to walk down the stairs and onto the sidewalk, and not in a New York kind of dingy way, in kind of like a France or Prague or some other kind of like spacious way,
Interesting.
There's still room.
Huh. Yeah, I've never been. I would love to go.
Yeah, it was nice. And I did get to walk around the outside of Fenway and like peer. The doors were open to this. There's a bar where you can actually sit in the bar and you're under the bleachers to the stadium.
Oh, cool.
And you can see from there out onto the field. The bar wasn't open yet, but their front door was open. And from their front door, you could see through the big door that looks onto the field. So I could see the field through a crack of a door, through another crack of a door.
Okay.
But, yeah, so it was pretty cool. Anyway.
That's cool. Oh, did you get to do any other touristy kind of stuff in that area? Or was it all mostly just work?
We really were working most of the time. Although I told you we went to Plymouth, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit last time.
Yeah, so that's really we went to Plymouth. We tried a lot of different food, ate a lot of seafood. I think my coworker / buddy Jason ate fish and chips at every meal, or at least at every dinner.
Come on, really?
Yeah, it was fantastic. I was so glad that he did it, as I found at least 2 places that I thought they were great and would order them again.
Okay. I mean, yeah, did you guys get the what's the? No, that's not Boston. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, New England clams.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some pretty good spots with New England clam chowder. We got some lobster rolls, which are pretty good. Differing opinions on which ones we liked the best on that one. Pretty much everything else everybody agreed upon. But we found some great restaurants. And then when we were trying to get back into Boston, I really wanted to go to this diner in the south part of Boston, which is known as Southie, which is also known as a hard part of town. Which is really, I mean...
Hold on, that's a lot to say. It's just like, we're in the hard part of town. That's a mouthful.
Especially if you have a Bostonian accent.
Oh, I'm not even going to try.
Yeah.
But that just seems... You can't just call it... Southie is like way shorter.
Yeah, well, that's why they call it Southie. Anyway.
Okay.
Like that movie with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, they're in Southie.
Which one with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck?
That one. With the
good old the one.
with the Harvard.
No, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. Good Will Hunting.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It takes me a minute. My brain is fried, dude. It's just so old in there.
Okay.
I used to be able to name movies a lot faster.
Yeah, well, it's problematic when the movies that come out now seem to come out so quickly, and then everyone forgets about them so quickly also.
I heard a funny thing on another podcast about how mega movies are now and how little social impact they have. Like Avatar or Civil War or these types of movies that are just mega box office, like explosions of money, and then they don't stick around, like Star Trek or Star Wars, which were mediocre at first. Like, I think Star Wars was pretty big, and Star Trek was a TV thing,
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know Star Wars, the first one, was huge in our parents' time.
They just flooded the culture. And like, do you see any Avatar toys at cons? Not really.
Yeah, that's true. People still watch Star Wars.
Yeah, the originals, the same one.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Anyway, I will say, so I got back and I played a little bit of Diablo, but that's pretty much all I've had time for. Did I tell you the story about I finally got the ring that I've been chasing?
That's good.
So the first minute I'm on and finished the quest, I did it 35 times. I got back from Boston. I did it one time, and I got the ring that I was looking for.
That's the irony of randomness right there.
Yeah, that's paying the iron price for sure.
Man, yeah.
Funny story. So it's ancient. In Diablo, for people that don't know. I shouldn't say for people that don't know. I should
People
just
probably
explain
know.
it. I could cut off 10 seconds.
Well, we spent longer than 10 seconds talking about it now, so now you have to explain it.
Oh, okay. So there's an ancient thing in Diablo where you get an item. It's like ring 1, and then there's ancient ring 1, and ancient ring 1 is probably like 20% better than ring 1.
It's like you have ring 1, and they do the same thing, ring 1 and ancient ring 1, but all the numbers on ancient ring 1 are just a little bit bigger.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, well, I don't really want to disenchant this for the ability that I need, because it's ancient and I could want it. So I'm going to do it one more time, and if I don't get the ring on the next one, I'll disenchant it. I'll move on with my life. I did it again. Got a ring again. And it was ancient.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Wow. There you go.
I got paid back.
Yeah, that's right. They were trying to help you out that time. It looks like, for me anyway, in order to progress in the season journey in Diablo, I'm going to have to find a different set to do the dungeon for, because I tried the set dungeon for the bonus, the one that they give you for wizards this season, and it is just not doable. Like, no way. I even had most of the items, not all of them, but most of them. I was just nowhere close. Nowhere close. So I'm just going to hope to collect another set piece, or another 6 set for some other set, and do that set dungeon, because this is not doable, I think.
I don't know why they made them so hard.
Yeah, I mean, I understand they want them to be challenging, but like, not even to master it, just to complete it. The challenges are just really hard.
Completing them should be much, much easier than it is. Mastering, I'm fine. I'm a little bit bummed if that mastering is part of the thing that we would still have to do to complete this season.
Mm-hmm.
But, mastering should be mastering and should be harder, but like completing is just a drag. It's not fun.
And a lot of the time, there's nothing you can do to make completing easier. Like, leveling your character up doesn't matter at some point. If you just don't have the right items that enable you to do the things you need in that place, or that enable your character to survive at all while doing those things, doesn't matter. Your character is just going to die. Doesn't matter. It's really disheartening. It makes you feel bad while you're doing it. You're just like, well, I had no chance and I died. Oh well.
Now you know how I felt at the end of last season when I had that problem.
Yeah.
When I was trying to tell you how hard my set dungeon was, and you'd already finished yours, and I'd done it probably 20, 30 times, I don't remember, before I finally got it. And I didn't even master it until later. It's
unfortunate because it feels like, at least at this point, like there's no amount of extra Paragon levels or extra, like making the numbers bigger on my character is not going to help. Like, I just don't have some piece of knowledge or something to make these objectives possible. It sucks.
Yeah, we're going to have to revisit, I think, pretty soon, once I got to get one more item before I can even try my set dungeon. And once I try it, maybe we sit down and really reevaluate our position on Diablo.
Yeah.
At least seasonally.
Yeah, maybe it's just this is, we didn't have enough time to make it happen, and we could just say, oh, well, the season's a wash.
I don't know that it's a question of time. I think it's a question of wanting to spend the time.
Yeah, it's true. Would
right?
you rather just be playing Overwatch?
Or Bravely Default.
Yeah. Oh, so you last week told me that there were 2 parts to your I played DS games story.
Yeah. Okay. So part 2 of Handhelds begins now.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
There's a lot more, and this might drag into a 3-parter. I'm not certain.
Well, stop teasing me. Let me know.
All
what
right.
happened.
Let's start with Bravely Default.
Okay.
Because we can wrap this part up today, I'm sure.
So you played some Bravely Default.
I have played a bunch more Bravely Default because...
Did you find the slider?
After we talked last time, I thought to myself, where would be the hardest and most obscure place to put configurable settings for this game? I would put them under config or setup or something like that. Mm-hmm. But, the Japanese, they're kind of weird. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they put it under tactics.
Is that where the slider is?
Tactics.
Okay. I guess that's a tactic. I can't defend this choice. I don't have anything to say in their behalf.
So I get to the slider, and it is set. Basically, the slider can be at no %. So let's just call it 0, right?
Yeah, it's 0.
0 would be no encounters.
Mm-hmm.
2, which would be normal, normal amount of encounters, and then 4, which would be double the normal amount of encounters.
Right.
The last time I had played the game, I had set it to 4.
Okay. Yeah, big mistake.
I ended chapter 1, and I'm almost done with chapter 2. And I think there are 6 chapters in the game, just to give people a heads up. There's a level cap of 99.
It might be 8.
Right? Oh, there's 8 chapters?
It might be 8.
8 chapters. 8 chapters, level cap of 99. End of chapter 1. I was level 30 already.
Whoa. I'm going to go ahead and say you're way over leveled. You could probably just walk through the next 2 chapters. That's not true.
I walked through the end of chapter 1 completely. I just turned it all the way off, no encounters, and killed all the bosses and moved on.
Well, I mean, I guess you got what you wanted.
Yeah. So I don't know why, but I have come to the realization that, maybe because of experience with RPGs or whatever, I just try to level as much as possible, as fast as possible. Because only one game ever has it not mattered, and the rest of the time, if you level up faster than the things around you, then you do better, right? Because, you're higher level, you kill them faster, you can do more stuff.
Sure.
So I think I just got a little overzealous on the leveling. And since then, it has been going much better.
Yeah, I would say you were way overzealous. It's not a little bit. That's way too much. Man, I can't imagine how many battles you must have fought to get that high level. Because the experience decreases at some point, I think.
I think you're right.
So are you enjoying the story a little bit more?
Hey, it's kind of a weird story, and they say the word sexy a lot. It just makes me uncomfortable.
Why?
I don't know. It's kind of weird because they have this artistic design that makes them all kind of look like children a little bit.
They're kind of, small. They have small limbs and big heads and
would that be chibi?
Short chibi, yeah, kind of.
Are they chibi? I don't know.
Kind of.
But they have big heads and small bodies.
It all bothered me because none of the characters have feet
or hands.
Yeah, they ran out of polygons or something, and they didn't bother to make hands or feet on the characters. That's the weirdest part about the whole game.
It's really strange, and one of them has gray hair, so he looks like...
I don't know, that's an anime thing.
Yeah, it's very off-putting to then watch all these people being talking about making somebody sexy for 10 minutes. This whole chapter 2 is all about being sexy, and it's making me very uncomfortable. But
I think maybe a lot of it is meant tongue-in-cheek, and you're not getting it.
Okay. Well, I mean, in Japanese games, for sure, that happens. I have a theory about this game, and I'm going to write it down in my notebook for this show. And when I get to the end of the game, If I'm wrong, I'll let you know.
It's not as exciting unless you say it, and then when you get to the end of the game, we all know already if you're wrong, and we get the anticipation of you being wrong the whole time.
It's how many games?
This game's old.
Okay, so I could just say whatever I think is going to happen.
It came out in like 2013 or something.
So I could just say it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that the little fairy chick is evil.
Spoilers. Okay. Interesting. So you think the what's her name?
Chapter 2, calling it right now, that little stupid fairy that follows you around is evil.
What led you to this belief?
We got into the water crystal thing. So in the game, the story is... This is going to lead into my next topic, actually, right now, because I'm going to try and explain this to people, and then I'm going to point out something else. So in this game, you are walking around killing a bunch of stuff, and you're going to different towns because there are crystals hidden throughout the world that are giant boulder-sized rocks that float in the air that are tended to by special priests that know how to unlock their magical abilities that control the elements on the earth. So there's a wind crystal, an earth crystal, and water crystal, and a fire crystal?
Yeah, I think that's right.
And you have to go unlock them because evil has tried to take them over, and then you have to put a barrier around them. Well, the water crystal, I just got to that one. We walked into the temple, and the water crystal's surrounded by like a force field. My character that is one of these priests that can manage these crystals says oh no, we should go find the Vestal that manages the water crystal and have her unlock this thing because it's already got a force field around it, but we can't get through it. And then the fairy goes, yeah, you can't get through it, but yeah, you could really actually get through it. You should just do it now. Do it now. Do it now. She's really prodding you to hurry up and not care, The
fairy is not interested in following the rules.
Right. Yeah, she's blatantly flaunting the what is that called? Dogma. The dogma of the crystal awakenings to try and get them awakened faster, which is extremely suspect.
Maybe the fairy is just hyperactive.
Maybe. I'm calling it now that fairy's evil.
Okay, interesting. I'll be interested to see what you think when you get to the end.
Okay. Well, I take back my skepticism about the game being fun. I like the system. The story's a little weird, but enjoyable enough. Right? I mean, most of those games' stories are pretty weird. You could probably count on one hand the Final Fantasy stories that are actually coherent and good.
Yeah, definitely.
And they've made 15 of those games. This leads me into something else. I want to ask you a question. I want to see if you can do it.
Okay.
Because I was playing Bravely Default with on the plane next to Jason, who I mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. And Jason's a gamer in a classical sense. I don't think he's played anything 3D ever, but he's played a heck of a lot of NES and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, cool.
So he was watching over my shoulder, and he's never really played an RPG in depth, really, especially not a JRPG. So I was trying to describe everything in the game to him.
This is a tall order.
How leveling worked and how job systems worked and what I was doing running around and random battling. Mm-hmm. I could watch in his face as I tried to explain a JRPG, his eyes just sort of glaze over.
Uh-huh. Yep.
How would you, I'll give you as much time as you need, describe a JRPG to someone? Because we kind of glossed over it last time when I said I was playing Bravely Default. We said...
Sure, well, we explained the systems a little bit.
Well, we did. We glossed it over. You're like, oh yeah, it's a JRPG, and you level and you kill bad guys and you save the world and all the other weird things a JRPG does, which I would say the weird story in Bravely Default is a thing of. But really sit down and try, to a gamer to explain, somebody that's played a ton of God of War or a ton of Pikmin or, somebody that's played games but doesn't play JRPGs. What is a JRPG? And I defy you to do it in a way that doesn't bore people.
At the heart of what an RPG is, it's a story. So you're playing the game ostensibly because you're interested in the story and the characters. That's the reason you want to play it. All the stuff that's built on top of it is just stuff to do while they tell you the story. If it was just them telling you a story all at once, it would just be really, it would be a 3-hour game. It would be boring and, or it would be over really quick. So, back in the days of the NES and stuff, in order to make games longer, they had all these systems and these battles and stuff for you to do to make you feel like they earned your purchase, right?
I would argue your point. People play those Nathan Drake PS3 games, which are probably only 4 hours.
Uncharted.
Because of the story.
Yeah, they do.
So what specifically, and talk, I mean, like,
so
you're talking to a gamer, right? Somebody that knows like why you play games is because they give you a story, but like try to explain the systems of a JRPG to...
Oh, we actually want to talk about... Okay, I thought you were talking to your friend here.
Yeah.
Okay, we want to talk about like systems.
I mean,
he's
played.
There's no way to explain the systems that isn't boring. The fun is going through the process, getting on the treadmill, right? It's like if you try and explain to someone World of Warcraft and all the systems and stuff in that, right? It's super boring. No one wants to hear you talk about how you make the numbers go up. That's like not exciting.
Okay, but don't talk about the numbers going up. Explain.
But that's what you're doing, right?
You sit and you don't want to go over the numbers, but at the same time, you have to try to like
the numbers.
Explain it to them in a way that makes it sound fun, right? I mean, yeah, JRPGs, RPGs, you play to get through the story, but at the same time, I would argue, because most of the stories are not the most fantastic thing or original thing. I mean, you already know where it's going, most of the time.
But it's the stories and the characters, right? The story is a large part of it, but interwoven with the story is the people that are a part of the story, right? And the thing that JRPGs do generally better than, or do more of than Western RPGs do, is they sort of give you these characters and sort of try to build relationships with them and try and show how they relate to each other, and then you feel invested in this relationship and these people, and you want to see what happens to them in this adventure. As opposed to a lot of Western RPGs where they sort of give you an avatar character, you sort of invest yourself in it, and then you have an adventure as yourself in the wider world. That's kind of the difference between a Japanese RPG and a Western RPG classically. Of course, there's 10 million different people who have games all along the line between those two.
I think that's a really great description of the difference between J and, let's say, Western RPGs.
Yeah.
Especially from the container standpoint. Like, the container of the game is the story, right? So it's the shell around
and they
everything.
both have stories.
Huh?
And they both are stories, right? They're both story-driven games, and there's an overarching plot and these sort of things.
Okay. So that's a good description of what an RPG should over blanketed be, like a story, and they differ on how they're the story, but what they are is these sorts of stories that you play through. But if you take the shell off, a lot of people that have played more than one or two RPGs or are competent gamers want to know, okay, well, yeah, I know that I'm playing through a story, because most games I'm playing through a story. I mean, I said Pikmin earlier. It's kind of an RPG, but at the same time it's not, and it's still a story. You're trying to get this astronaut home, you play through a story.
Okay.
So a lot of gamers would want to know, okay, take the container off. Don't tell me about what the story is about. Tell me about the fundamentals of the gameplay. Like, what do I do in the game? And that's the part that's like,
okay,
that's the part that I'm trying to have a hard time describing. Like, yeah, okay, so you run around, you get experience, you take the experience, you have classes, but the classes are separate from the character. You know what I mean?
Sure. So, I mean, you're trying to do too many things at once. So the game is sort of, the way I would try and explain it is, at least in this game, you have, do they call them jobs? Do they actually call them that word? Okay. They have jobs. And so each character can pick at any time to be one of a list of jobs that you have access to. And each job has different skills, right? You can be the black wizard, and he has access to fire magic and other kinds of magic. And then you can pick the white mage who has access to healing stuff and some like status effect kind of spells. Or you can pick the fighter and he has access to swords and does a lot of, sword skills. Or you can pick the thief who is fast and can steal from people and get you more items that way. And so then you have, these different classes that you can mix and match among your 4 party members to create interesting combinations when you're fighting these battles.
That's about where I lost him.
Okay, he was not interested in this.
I wouldn't say that he wasn't interested, and that was my point, is to you and I, because we've played RPGs a decent amount, I would say that they, at the heyday of gaming for me, were a standard in my repertoire. You and I have probably gotten to the point that, like, okay, when we describe an RPG to each other, we talk about the leveling system or not the container, but the interior, right? So, like, oh yeah, this one has a sphere system like Final Fantasy X, or this one has a job system like Bravely Default, or this, and then here's the weird tweak on it. Whereas, like, just getting to, like, okay, well, here's the classes, and each class has an ability, and then, like, let's say you got through all of that, then you have to, like, go into the battle system.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Have to, yeah, and then you fight in a turn-based sort of way with the enemies, and you get to go. Your characters get to go, and then their characters get to go, and it sort of goes back and forth.
So how do you do that without them glazing over?
Well, it's meant to be tactical, right? So you choose your options that are varied based on the classes you have available to you, and you want to sort of be able to kill all the enemy characters without your characters dying.
I think you did a great job of describing it, but maybe I did a worse job of describing it because I tried to explain too much. But at the same time, like, it's just a really hard thing for me to wrap my head around trying to explain in a concise manner.
I mean, it's not a concise game. You can't explain it concisely. It doesn't boil down to a sentence because all of these things make up the fun part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's if you don't enjoy one part, like say you love of the characters and the story, but you don't really care about any of the random battling, don't play the game. You're going to have a horrible time because you have to do that stuff.
I guess maybe the caveat when describing an RPG is, okay, sit and hold on because this is going to get complicated.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment or a thing to say. I mean, RPGs are big, the multiple 20, 30, 40-hour games, right? So that's a pretty decent investment of time. So it's not going to be easy, right? You can't sum it up in one sentence.
Yeah, you don't beat them in a weekend. Any advice for me going forward now that I've gotten my Bravely Default shoes on the right feet?
I think you can probably just keep pressing forward. You will probably enjoy it more now that you're not doing random battles all the time.
Well, I certainly enjoyed putting that slider down to 0 for a little while and then back up to normal once I was through the chapter 1.
I bet it makes it way nicer.
Yeah, and it's tough. How many times have you stepped away from an RPG and tried to pick up your save file and then, like, not restart it and just forged ahead? Because it's not the first time for me that I've picked up a game that I started and got a little bit into and then started over later when I remembered it.
Yeah. So are you thinking you're going to start over from the beginning again?
No, I won't. But I have in the past, like, set down a game, an RPG that I'm 10, 12 hours into, and picked it back up again in a couple months and been like, well, I don't remember how any of this works. I got to start over. Have you ever, like, come across that?
Yeah, I've definitely had games that I didn't finish and, tried to come back to. I generally find that if I've completely forgotten everything about the setting and what was going on, I come back and like, oh, I should play that game again. And then I'll play it for an hour or two, and then generally I bounce off. It's just like you come in, you're like, oh, this would be cool. And then the, like, interest of trying it again bounces. You're like, oh, yeah, this is why I stopped. And then I bounce back out.
Oh, okay. So your experience is more along the lines of, like, I didn't enjoy it and that's why I quit, or I waned and it didn't come back to me.
Yeah, in general. I mean, that's not saying I don't replay old games that I liked, ones that I've beaten. There's tons of games out there from my childhood and yours, I'm sure, also, that we've beaten many times that maybe you want to go back and play. But in general, if I feel like if I am not able to sustain some kind of pace through the game, I'm probably not going to be able to get to the end just because, who has time to sit in these huge sessions like when we were younger.
Well, that's because we were gamers, JJ.
Yes, exactly. That's my point.
I think that I didn't quit Bravely Default because I waned on it. I think it just, because we talked about handhelds last time, just set the system down and forgot to pick it back up, you know?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to place it, I'm going to plug it in next to the bed and see if that gets me to play like an hour a night or something, you know?
Yeah, I think it's the kind of game you could do that with. You know, the story moves at a brisk enough pace. I mean, it's not always the quickest moving game, but, you know, there's stuff happening.
Yeah, they do give the option to skip a lot of the interstitial conversations.
Yeah.
So you could move it faster if you didn't want to complete a lot of stuff.
Sure. And, you know, there's like side quests and stuff, but not all of them are essential to the plot. You know, you don't have to go out there and kill every monster and do every request.
Well, and last time you were saying you don't even need all the jobs to finish it,
Nope.
right?
Yep, there are optional jobs in that game.
Here we go. Bold predictions for that game. Right here.
Okay.
The fairy's evil.
Right, we got that one.
The guy that lost his memory is Tiz's father.
The guy that lost his memory. Like the
vagabond with the journal that doesn't remember who he is.
Oh, yeah, okay. Interesting. Okay, I like that theory.
The dark knight that chases you around is Adia, the bad girl that turns good. That's got to be her sister.
That's her sister. Interesting.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Agnes dies at the end.
Okay. So do we want to play... If I tell you... Do we want to play Mastermind, Andrew?
What is that?
Do people maybe out there know the game Mastermind?
I don't know that.
So there's 4... Or so it's like... It's a game played between 2 people, and you choose... a person secretly chooses a bunch of pegs of certain colors and in a certain order, and then the opponent has to set out pegs in the order they think the person has. You start out with a random set, and then the person with the secret one tells you the number you have right and whether they are in the correct position.
Okay, so it's kind of like Battleship.
Yes, but so I of your 4 predictions, I would be telling you how many of them are correct and how many of them are... I don't know about the position stuff. Maybe this doesn't make for a good game in that way.
So you're just asking me if I want to know if I got any right?
Yeah, do you want to know? Because I can tell you.
I want to know if I got 0.
You got more than 0 correct.
That's all I want to know for now.
Okay. All right, we'll leave this as an exercise out there to the readers. And the readers, no one reads this. The listeners, which ones were the ones you guys think Andrew got right? I can confirm or deny which ones are correct.
Maybe I should stay off of podcasts that We Were Gamers in case somebody wants to email in and email you about it.
Nah, it's fine.
All right. Well, maybe we should get out of here and I can go get some Bravely Default in and find out if I got anything right.
Yeah, that sounds good. I would be happy to go play some games also.
Oh, maybe we squeeze in the last dying light of Diablo tonight.
Yeah, that might be a good way to go. All right. Well, Andrew, can you tell the people where they can contact us?
Yeah, there's a lot of places they could contact us, JJ. They could get at us on Twitter at We Were Gamers. They could email us at podcast@weweregamers.com. They could look at us on Instagram with our 2 photos at We Were Gamers. They could find us on Facebook.com/We Were Gamers. And, you know, if you know where either of us lives, you could send us a carrier pigeon.
Yeah. You could also send us emails to find out. I want to know how many you think Andrew has right. How many of those 4 guesses? Also, I believe that... No, I just totally forgot what I was going to say. It's pretty cool.
Probably something about downloading us on iTunes.
Yeah. You could do that. You could download us on the iTunes store or on Google Play, the podcast section.
Exactly.
And you could leave us reviews on those things. That would be cool if you did that.
Well, some people have given me reviews and feedback in person, and you guys know who you are, and I want to thank you for it. And I also want to remember to thank Marley Rosner for our music one more time, because it's awesome, and it sounds good every time I review it each episode.
It is awesome.
So just wanted to throw that out there. And
I have gotten a few feedback from some friends and other people that have listened to it. They said they enjoy it. So thank you guys for listening.
Handhelds Part 3 next week.
Oh, man. The anticipation is killing me.
I know, right? It's just the never-ending Handheld section.
Awesome.